Hi, welcome to episode 7 of Photography Chat with Merlin. This episode we are going to have Danielle joining with us, also known as Girl with Too Many Cameras. And let's get her in the chat here, and we will get things going. Hope everyone has been having a good week. And yeah, getting people in here. What's up, Chrissy? How's it going, Amanda? Hey, Tessa. There she is. Let's get her in the chat. All right.
Here I am.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to the chat.
Thank you.
I love your hair.
Oh, thank you. It's mainly a pain in the ass to me, so I'm glad you like it.
I guess like having to maintain is it like what is that, a bob or?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, it's
a lot
like
of work.
it is work, and it's so short, so whenever I go outside, it's just like the wind just like it's straight in my face. So that's like the biggest issue with me when I'm trying to shoot photos, is that my hair is always like in my eyes when I'm outside.
How do you have any tricks on how to avoid that, or it just kind of happens?
Just kind of happens. I try to pull it back sometimes, but just it's something you gotta live with.
Well, I guess that's a fun fact that the listeners now know about your hair when you're shooting.
All the little things we go through as women trying to take photos.
That's very true. I've never really had to deal with like long hairness. I suppose there are some dudes out there that could struggle with that sort of issue of having like, John here, who just joined Rolls of You. He has some very luscious hair, and I could imagine that maybe
Oh yeah.
become a bit problematic from time to time. The weirdest hair thing I ever had was I shaved my beard off last winter and then went outside and immediately regretted my decision to do that.
Frozen face immediately.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, I forgot like how much this actually protects and insulates me.
Right.
Yeah, how's your week been going?
It's been going actually pretty fast, so that's nice.
That's good.
Just one more day. I gotta get through tomorrow, and then I got another weekend. It's supposed to be supposedly sunny on Saturday and not below 10 degrees. So I might go out and try to do some photos on Saturday, if that holds true.
Nice. Well, I hope it plays well for you. Right here, Brandy, a good pal of mine from Texas, she says, always have a hair tie on your wrist and a barrette snapped to my strap.
It's a good move. It works when you have enough hair to put in a hair tie.
That's fair. Yeah, you do have very short hair for that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how's the week going?
My week, it's been an interesting week. So like I'm still sort of settling back into work from the car accident last year, and that's been just like a massive adjustment, like being able to use my brain again, and things like that. And then work has just been like wicked busy because it's like we're doing our quarterly business reviews of like last year, and so it's just like business, Zoom meetings, and yeah, all sorts of fun. So I am looking forward to this coming weekend of not having to do any more Zooms for a couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, John says here, the worst is shooting rangefinders and you don't see that your long hair is in front of your lens in the shot.
It's a really excellent point.
That's a great one. And sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. And Itka?
Hey, babe. Yeah. You left the fridge open.
Your fridge beeps when it's open?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's at us right now.
technology. They say, what a unique idea, photos in winter. I don't know if that's sarcasm or. Not. And then Count Snackula also says his face feels hella cold when I shave it. That's no fun. Um, yeah, so it's just been a busy week of work. I did finally drop off a couple of rolls of film that I shot with Alexandria last weekend. We did a walk through Kensington Market, and that's the first
Oh,
time.
nice.
I think both of us have like gone shooting in a while, and so managed to get 2 rolls done in the market. Dropped them off at Downtown Camera this morning, and they got the color back to me today, and then hopefully get the black and white tomorrow. But that was kind of nice because I don't think, with the way the weather is looking, I'm gonna get out and do any shooting this weekend because I think we're gonna have lots of crummy weather this weekend. But that's okay because I've got a couple of book projects I'm working on, and one that like I was hoping to have ready for pre-order this week, but kind of behind on right now. So hopefully I'll get that done this weekend so that I can start planning the pre-order in the coming weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what was that book about again?
That one I called it Quarantineroids, and it was 53 days of Polaroid during lockdown because
Awesome.
initially it was only supposed to be 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, this will be easy, like 2 weeks of Polaroid a day. That's like no problem, and I gave up at day 58, but the lockdown still continued well past when I gave up on shooting a Polaroid a day because I was just like, God damn, like the way this lockdown's looking, buying this much Polaroid is gonna like bankrupt me. I can't keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then I sat on the photos, like I just, I don't know, like between the car accident and like everything else, I just didn't have like the capacity to do anything with it until now, which has been kind of fun. So I'm curious to see how the response is to that one. But yeah, like what about you? Do you have any projects going on? Like I know you've been very active with a few things, and just leave it to you to talk about things you got going on there.
Yeah, well, I'd say, well, in terms of projects, in terms of photography, like the two biggest projects I have on deck is, well, we recently launched our feature page, the Film Sorority. I think we've been up for about a month and a half now, so that's really exciting. And I also recently joined the team at Casual Photophile as a writer, which is also, that was so surreal when they reached out and asked me to join their team because I've been reading their website for years, and so what I've been working on with for them is I try to do 2 articles a month. I do one which is like a curated list of really awesome female film shooters to check out. And then every month I also will be doing an in-depth interview with a female film shooter. So there's already the January list went up and the February interviews live. And the February list should be probably going up soon too. So those are kind of the biggest projects I have on deck. Don't really have, in terms of actually shooting photos, I don't have too much going on. I guess the one like personal project I'm working on is I've made it a goal to try to take one black and white photo every day of just like my just everyday life. I like have this paranoia that I don't take enough photos of like my real life moments, and I'm gonna be like 60 one day and look back and realize I don't have any actual documents. I never documented my actual life. So I'm just trying to take like a black and white photo every day, whether it's us cooking dinner or my cat being super cute. So that's kind of like the photo project I've been working on lately.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried when I first started it at the start of February. I thought, oh, am I really gonna be able to take a photo every day? And I'm like ahead of schedule. I've had some days where I take like 3 and 4 shots a day of just our life. So it's turning out a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be.
So do you have like a camera that you dedicate to that, or are you just oh nice.
Yeah, it's conveniently right in front of me. I have my
Is
my
that an
one.
AE1 or an A1?
A1. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So I have that right now. It's loaded up with a roll of Tri-X, which I'm shooting at 800. So yeah, that's
Oh.
kind of like the dedicated camera and roll of film that I'm using for that project right now.
So you can continue to just do Tri-X with that specific camera, or you can experiment with different black and whites over time?
That's a good question. I think I definitely want to switch cameras up. I love my A1, but I just, obviously I have so many names, so many cameras per my name. So I think it would be nice to switch up the cameras. I don't have too many different black and white stocks though, so I might just stick with Tri-X, maybe something else. But I'd want it to be something that I can easily shoot indoors, so at least 400 speed or something that can be pushed.
Have you tried Eastman Double X yet?
I have not.
If you like shooting black and white, you should definitely try shooting a roll of Eastman Double X sometime. It's 250 rated. I've never tried pushing it or anything, but I've had no problem shooting it indoors with like a fast lens. So like I usually shoot it with like a 1.4 lens wide open indoors, and like it's given me some of my most favorite black and white photos I've gotten off of Eastman Double X. It's a cinematic film,
Mm.
so it's very very just crisp and like it just gorgeous. DS Manning says XX at 400 is fire, so yeah, you can definitely try it there. Um, so Film Photography Project has it. You can get it from them in 24 rolls, and Cinestill does it in 36 rolls.
Nice. I might have to look that up then because that sounds. I mean, I love Kodak, so I'm assuming it must be Kodak then if it's called Eastman Double X.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like the Kodak Cinema films.
Okay. Well, that makes sense then why Cine still does it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I was bugging because on Clubhouse, I don't know if you've jumped on playing with that thing yet. Um, we talked with a couple of Cinestill guys there on a few nights, and was like, when are you guys going to make 4x5 of double X? Because like they've gotten to a point now in their production, they're no longer buying pre-made stuff from Kodak. They're buying like the big raw roll.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if they wanted to, they could do 4x5, and they've teased it of doing 4x5 Cinestill 800T and 50D, which would be just like mine. I would love to play with some of that stuff. Like I like those stocks a lot. So yeah, sorry to get off on a tangent there.
Oh, no, that's cool. So do you have a 4x5 camera?
I do. It's my favorite camera to shoot with most of the time. His name is Rufus. And
That's
so,
awesome.
so the cameras that I plan on keeping that I'll never give up, um, I I give them names. And so like my 4x5, which is a Wista 4x5, he's Rufus, and then my main 35 millimeter, this guy, the Nikon F5, this is Woodrow.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's named after Woody Guthrie, and that's why I've got like this thing in here that says "This machine stops time" is sort of like my tribute to Woody Guthrie.
I was actually just uh, Brandy, who's on our chat here. I was actually just chatting with her the other night about naming cameras, and I know she does so as well. And when I first started shooting, I tried to name cameras, and there's a few cameras who I will still like think of with by their names. Like my very first camera was my Canon AE1, and I affectionately named it Cora the Canon.
I
Um,
love that.
and my parents gave me their Minolta 7000 Maxim 7000 on a long-term loan, so I named that Mini the Minolta. Um, but then I just started accumulating so many cameras at such a quick speed that I just couldn't keep up with naming them. So now I have like 40 cameras, so that would be a little bit insane to try to keep 40 names straight. So, but
You have 40 cameras right now?
mm-hmm.
Holy shit. So are they mostly like 35s or like lots of different formats or like what do you got?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of 35 millimeter. I have a good chunk of the A series. I have the Canon AE1, the AE1 program, which I both just randomly found them at thrift stores for under $10. So it was like,
What?
what? Why not? I
Oh
know
my
they're like,
God. Hipsters would like give up their firstborns for those now almost.
right? So yeah, most of my cameras I'd say come from the thrift store. I also obviously the A1 that I just showed you, that was a birthday gift. A couple of Nikons, more like later, like the plastic fantastic Nikons from the 90s that I got at thrift stores. Couple Minoltas. I've been kind of slowly upping my number of medium format too, because now I have 3 TLRs. I have my Bronica
Ooh.
ETR, and then I have a couple of medium format folders, and then I got kind of like a crap ton of box cameras too.
What kind of TLRs do you got?
So I have my very first TLR, which was the third camera I ever got, what is a Yashica D. And that I completely got lucky. I had my AE1 and the Minolta Maxim 7000. I had been shooting them for maybe about 9 months. And I just, had really fallen in love with film, and I wanted another camera, and I wanted to do something outside of 35 millimeter. So I thought, why not take the jump to medium format? And I thought, like, on a whim, I'll just search if anybody in my neighborhood or my area on Facebook is selling any medium formats. And there was a person who lives like right in my neighborhood selling a Yashica D for like $70. So
Nice.
I hit him up on that deal. And then I also like lucked out and got a Yashica Matte LM on eBay for $30. The person was selling it like condition unknown. They had no idea if it worked, and I just thought, $30, why not take a chance?
Yeah, exactly.
And I've lucked out on that one too. And then recently I got my third one, which is a Ricoh Diacord, which is a little bit more of a unknown one. Actually, let me just go grab it. It's like really
Sure.
close.
And if you all have any questions in the audience there, feel free to pop in and ask questions, and like the chats to be interactive.
So this is the Ricoh Diacord that
Ooh, that cool.
it's a beauty. Another like lucky somebody on Facebook Marketplace was selling a lot of old cameras, and most of them were like box cameras and just kind of uh, nothing of like real value. But I noticed that this was buried in the box, like in the photo, and I was like, ooh, that could be something. And it was $50, so I thought, why not take a chance? Again, the person had like no clue about cameras or what worked, and got home with this Ricoh, and it works perfectly. Like the shutter speeds are all accurate. Everything works great. So yeah, and it's kind of, from what I can tell, it's kind of like a copy or a clone of like an autocord, like a Minolta
Okay.
autocord. So yeah, so that's my third TLR that I have.
Um, Olive Ross asked, do you do self or lab development?
Self or lab develop? Okay, so I go to the lab. There's a local camera store here who develops for pretty reasonable prices, so I go to them. I did have like a brief fling with trying to develop my own film, and I just absolutely hated
Oh,
it.
you froze. Sorry, you froze there when you're telling the story about it.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a camera store in my town that does developing. So I typically take my stuff to them. But like probably last year around this time, it was like last February, March, I decided to try self-developing, and I discovered that I absolutely hate it. I like I just couldn't get any consistency like from roll to roll. Each roll was turning out different, and I developed like 20 plus rolls of film, and just like nothing was getting better, and I just hated everything about it. I don't know, too much of a like high strung person to like developing. I kind of just panic the whole time that I'm screwing everything up, and then I'd rather just go to the lab.
I kind of feel the same way because like I've developed some black and white and I like doing it. Like it's a fun process and whatnot sometimes. I haven't tried color yet. Some people say it's easier, but I don't like the whole idea of like temperature regulation stuff. That just in my mind seems like a lot of work. But what I hate the most is scanning. Like that's what like the lab that I use here in Toronto, I am so spoiled by them because I literally like just drop off my film and give them money, and then a day or two later I get a text message with my pictures and they're scanned beautifully, and then I go pick up my negatives, and if they're black and whites I can use them with my enlarger to make prints and stuff, but like they do all the work and I just give them money. And in my mind I'm like, I'm helping the film community because I'm giving them money and I'm supporting them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know somebody, it looks like Paul Penna just asked if it was all color or black and white, or I don't know if that was to me, but if that was to me, it was color that I was trying to develop. So I'm going to give black and white developing a try. I actually have like chemicals, they're already ordered, they're like being shipped. So I'm going to give that one a go, but I don't think I'm ever going to go back to color developing. And kind of opposite to you, Merlin, though, I love scanning. Like
Really?
it's such a zen process for me. So it's so easy for me to just go to the lab, pay like the $5 a roll to just get develop only. And I love scanning. I scan with View Scan and then I convert with
Okay.
Negative Lab Pro. And I love seeing it like come to life on my computer. And I don't know, I just love it. I like the process of scanning all my photos and seeing what they look like and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Brandy says too poor to get professional scans regularly. Has to do it myself. Um, yeah, and then someone said embracing hypocrisy says their problem with self-dubbing color is getting the color cast right when scanning. Um, yeah, where is it here? Yesterday's lens today. I'm too lazy and busy to develop. I can feel that.
I totally understand that. Yeah.
Um, oh, and Alan from the Leica store in Boston has joined. What's up, Alan? Good to see you, man. Sailor Jury says any other art mediums that you enjoy or also do yourself, such as music, painting, etc.
That's actually kind of an interesting question. I actually started my career in music. I got a bachelor and a master's degree in music. And then after working in the music world for a couple of years, I just realized I hated working in the music world. So I have a completely different day job now. But I also, beyond photography and music, I really love drawing and painting. I actually am a little bit of an illustrator. I'm actually working on illustrating a book right now. So that's another artistic love of mine.
Well, that sounds. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that when we were chatting. That sounds really
Yeah,
awesome. I'm looking
yeah.
forward to seeing more of that. Paul also mentions Kyle McDougall and Nick Carver have some great tutorials on scanning.
They do. Yeah, I really like Kyle's. I've watched his before, and that was kind of what sold me on Negative Lab Pro was his videos.
Which I think answers T Spur's question here. Do you prefer Negative Lab Pro or Silverfast 35 millimeter or medium format?
I just first want to say hi, Taylor. I love Taylor so much. I'm so happy she's here. Um, I actually started my scanning with Silverfast.
Okay.
But I've recently transitioned to Negative Lab Pro. I think I just like the color profiles better that it gives. I feel like I get more consistent colors with Negative Lab Pro, so that's kind of what I've been driving on recently. And then in terms of 35 versus, hey baby, in terms of 35 versus medium, I feel like when I first started, I was super into 35 millimeter, but now I'm really more into medium format. Just, I feel like often what happens is I'll start a roll of 35, like 36 shots of 35, and I'll get halfway through it and then just like lose steam, and then I'm just taking like throwaway shots to just try to get through the roll. So like my Bronica, I love my Bronica that I can get 15 shots on that because it's 6x4.5, and that's kind of like the perfect number for me, 15 shots on a roll. So that's my jam right now.
And it's cool that you're part of the Bronica tribe.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I've got the SQAI. Um,
I want that.
it's a beautiful camera. it has a weird story behind it, but I haven't been able to embrace 645 yet. Um, I like the square. There's just something cool about it. Um, Also, one thing too with the TLRs that you can maybe try, it might work on yours. With like the same way that I did on mine. I've got a Mamiya C33,
Hmm.
and I shot 35 millimeter in it just by putting the 35 millimeter canister in the bottom because it just sort of cradles it perfectly in the bottom.
Oh, nice.
Then just spooled it up top. You have to remove the film in a dark bag because like once you get to the end, you can't spool it back. But
Hmm.
it was really cool shooting like the full width. Like I self developed that stuff so you could get like the outside and everything. But it was like really cool to just see like the sprocket holes like filled in and everything, and that could be something fun to try with your TLRs.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I have seen that you can get those like adapters, like
Yeah,
those.
so with the
Yeah.
TLRs, you don't necessarily need the adapters because
Oh,
it holds the canister in there in
oh.
the bottom, and then you just put it into like you just take a regular 120 spool, and you don't have to do the spooling in a dark bag. You can do that in daylight, and then just take your shots with it. And it was a lot of fun. It was a bit of guessing too because you're just sort of like, okay, I'm like I think it's dead center, so like hopefully it's like right and it hasn't shifted inside. Like if you're worried about shifting, that's where the adapters will like keep it perfect. But
Hmm.
I didn't have much shifting with mine, and that pro tip came from Armand at the Denton Camera Exchange. He's like, "Fuck getting those adapters." He's like, "Just throw it in the camera, it'll work," and it totally did.
Nice. Yeah, I think I might have to give that a go because I've seen people doing that, and I think that's the my biggest fear though. Like exactly what you said is that I'm worried that like how will I know if my image is within where the film is in the camera. So I don't know if maybe there's like a way I could make a janky like homemade mask for the viewfinder to help with that. Maybe.
Yeah, just experiment with it. I mean, that's the thing that's fun with these cameras is like since they're all manual and whatnot, you can kind of just do whatever you want with them. Um, I mean, it sounds like the next level for you at some point is you're going to end up getting a 4x5. I can already picture it.
Yeah, I really honestly like that would be the dream. The only thing that holds me back from that is one, I don't know how I would shoot color in it because my lab doesn't develop anything bigger than medium format.
Hmm.
So I couldn't, and I've already sworn an oath to never develop C41 again myself. So I don't know how I would shoot 4x5 C41. But if the the go I'm gonna have at black and white developing, if that proves fruitful, maybe I could do 4x5 and just stick to black and white.
Well, if you end up doing 4x5, both for black and white and color, yes, Sarah says 4x5 is where it's at because she's like a warrior with a large format camera. If you don't follow Sarah Jean Anchor, uh, check out her work. Her work is absolutely gorgeous. She does large format work and a lot of Polaroid work. She's super talented and awesome. But just a quick shout out to a couple of mail-in labs where down in the states there if you want to get into 4x5. Underdog Film Labs in San Francisco, well, Oakland, sorry. If Brian's listening to this later, I'm sorry for saying San Francisco, Brian. Underdog Film Lab in Oakland processes 4x5 color and black and
Oh,
white, and they do mail order. You can like follow them or follow Brian Brooks and send him a DM if you ever have any questions. Brian's like super cool to chat with. Or the Darkroom Lab in San Clemente. They do I think up to 8x10,
oh
and
wow.
also like super awesome. And Phil was my guest a couple episodes, and he's one of the co-owners of the Darkroom Lab.
Oh
And
awesome.
we do everything with Dip Dunk there, and it's pretty cool. So if you wanted to get into, oh, and Alan's plugging another lab here. So Indie Film Lab in Montgomery, Alabama, also does 4x5.
Oh, and Northeast Photographic Analog John is saying. Well, that's
All
good to
right.
know.
So there's some labs for you to shoot
Huh?
4x5 colors, so you have no excuse now.
You guys are a bad influence.
Someone in there said that she already has too many cameras, and I don't think that's fair. I mean, there's never enough.
That's true. I don't remember who I was chatting with recently about large format, and I was saying really at this point I think it's cost prohibitive for me because large format cameras are so expensive. And then this person's like, yeah, but you can find some that are like $200 to $300 on eBay. And then I started looking, and damn it, they're right. And now I feel like I have really no excuse to not.
Well, and you can get away with it sometimes too. Like I recently just sold a super um, a Crown Super Graphic to a guy for about like 200 US, something like that. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
okay. I gave him like a wicked good price on it because I wasn't using it, and I knew that like I hate selling things online for the most part. People haggle me on stuff, but I knew this was going to go to a good home, so I just gave him like a fire sale price on it. And you can often find that like there's people that won't like be ridiculous about their camera, but then there's like some people out there where it's like super ridiculous. And it
Yeah.
also depends on the cameras you're looking at. Like you're going to pay more for like a Linhof or a Technica or Wista, Toyo, like those ones are going to be like way more. And then like Deerdorf gets into like astronomical kinds of levels. But one that's like, and you can buy them new. Um, I've seen new, they're fairly reasonable, but even used, you can find them like very, very reasonable. Intrepid makes a nice 4x5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been looking at those Intrepids because I think you can also do tintypes on them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was reading on their website. And that also is like a long shot dream of mine is to do tintypes someday.
Well, if you want to do tintypes, I would highly recommend when it's safe to travel again, getting in contact with a dude in Chicago named Doug Hansen. And Doug teaches tintype, and for a little bit of money, he will run you through the most intense 10 hours you've ever been through and show you how to shoot tintype. And his method is he shows you how to make the chemicals, he shows you how to make the plates, and then you just shoot until you get it right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
actually, and Chicago's not too far from me. I'm in Milwaukee, so.
yeah, so I'll send you his profile after, and you can give him a follow. But like he's a super cool dude. His prices were reasonable for the class, and like I was planning on going to Chicago for learning how to do tintype before the world ended, which was kind of disappointing. 'Cause, yeah, I too also would love to learn tintype because I have a couple friends that shoot beautiful tintypes. Brian in Chicago. Theory of Brian on Instagram. He has beautiful tintypes, and Doug was his teacher also.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so yeah. The thing that's cool with 4x5s is you can shoot basically anything in them if you want to. Like your imagination's the limit with those cameras for the most part.
Yeah. And I just like the depth of field you can get on those cameras is insane. It's
Yeah,
like I've seen so many gorgeous portraits where like you just don't get that the look that you get on large format, you just don't get that on other cameras.
you don't like my favorite picture of me that's ever been taken was off of a Graflex, and Dave Rollins, Cinedar, he shot it, and it's just like I think it might still be my profile on Instagram, but it's just one of my favorite photos of me ever, and like it's just because of that like beautiful depth of field in it, and just like I think he shot that with an Aero Ektar too, and those Aero Ektar lenses are there's something else, but those are like Boku bucks to pick up one of those.
Mm.
But even like the character that you get from the different large format stuff is really interesting too, because you have access to a lot of really old stuff with those. And like one of my favorite photo books was or is Jason Lee's A Plain View, which was like his road trips through Texas, and he shot all of that with an old Ektar lens that was like scratched up and sort of like blemished and stuff because it just gave everything this sort of like soft, sort of temperate look to the pictures. Um, and I like playing with old lenses too with the 4x5s because of like that sort of experience you get with it, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the film fellow has a question for you. Have you made any zines, and who inspires you photographically at the moment?
So I have not made any zines. I haven't sold any prints. I have gotten prints like for myself personally because I think it's nice to like see your work physically printed. But I haven't done that mainly because I don't even know where to begin with that. Like I don't know how I would put a zine together or how I would get it printed or how I would even sell it, how I would ship it to people. That there's like so many logistics with that I don't even know where to start. So if anybody has tidbits or like a nice quick guide on how to do that, you can send it my way. That might be helpful. I will say Casual Science, Charlie, they have a like a publishing house called Themselves Press, I think. And I tripped across that the other day, and that kind of was like motivating me to want to get a zine printed because I think it would be so awesome to work with Charlie and do something with, a fellow female shooter. Go through them. So maybe if somebody can help me with logistics, that might be fun. And then, who inspires me photographically? Oh boy, there are so many people. It's mainly people I follow on Instagram, I would say. There's so many kick-ass ladies that even if their work isn't stylistically like mine, their work is just so beautiful that I just find it inspiring and wanting me to continue picking up my camera. Like, man, there's so many, but like just trying to think off the top of my head, like Nastasia Ellis, like her portraits are just gorgeous. Same with Co the photographer, Kellyanne Bob. Oh, I love her stuff. Nicole Small. Oh my God. Their work is so incredible. Bionomi, they have amazing work too. I could go on and on, but those are just some quick names of some people who inspire me.
That's all. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for the book thing, I've talked to other people about this on Instagram and on Clubhouse, for making zines. One thing that works really well is Blurb, and the thing that's cool with it is they have you can download software from them. It's called Bookwrite, and it allows you to do the layout to upload into Blurb to get it printed. Or if you have Adobe InDesign as part of like a Creative Suite subscription, if you have that through Adobe, they have an actual plugin that plugs into InDesign so that you can get the template layouts and everything to build a book on there. And if you do a trade paper book, they can be very cost effective doing the trade paper books. The only caveat with that is it's portrait style only, and the sizes are 5x7, 6x9, and 8x10 that you could do with that. And the pricing is fairly inexpensive to do a trade book with it. And if you're worried about the logistics side of things, you can just do print on demand with Blurb as well too. So
Oh,
you
that's nice.
publish, yeah. So when you publish the book into Blurb, you can just send people to the Blurb page for your book, and they can just download, like they can purchase it through there, and Blurb will just mail it to them if
Oh, that's
if
super
you don't
nice.
want to worry about the logistics. When I've done Blurb books, I'll typically do like an initial run of them, so that like I like sign them and like include a print and things like that, and then I'll do the shipping myself. But when I did my first book, that was a lot of work because it was like a lot of shipping labels and like getting it all together to take it to the post office and stuff. And I didn't really mind it necessarily, but if that's not something that sounds appealing to you, you can just have Blurb do all of that for you. So literally all you have to do is put it together in the software and then upload it as a project. And people can also download it as a PDF if they don't want to buy like a hardcover version of it. So like that could be an easy way for you to explore the zine world.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would want. Because I just don't think I have the time to like create a website, get all the zines. I have to be shipping them out, figuring out how to collect payment. I don't have the time for that. So I feel like Blurb, that like something that can just ship on demand, that just sounds like exactly what I would need.
Yeah, and then like you set the price. So there's like whatever it costs you per unit, and then you can adjust the price so that like if you wanted to make a bit of money on it, so you could fund future projects kind of thing. And then you just attach your PayPal account to it, and they just deposit that money into
Oh, nice.
PayPal. Yeah.
That's super easy.
It's a super slick setup, and I've been really happy with like the print quality that I've gotten out of them. I've done trade books and photo books with them, and I personally like the look of the trade book more because I just liked how it printed on the paper more than it did on the photo paper, which was like it was supposed to be matte, but it came out like a tiny bit kind of semi-gloss, and that always just sort of annoyed me a bit. But if you like semi-gloss, then the photo books would work well for you, but the trade books are like on the money for something that's affordable and easy to get out there.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
a really great tip.
no problem. It'd be fun to see you make some stuff. And then you had a couple people here mention that Chicago would be fun. Alan says, interested in going to Chicago to learn tintype field trip question mark. And same thing with yesterday lens today. Chicago would be an interesting place, even just to photograph.
Yeah, I definitely agree with yesterday lens today. Well, and with the other comment about the field trip for the tintypes, that would be fun too. Living Milwaukee kind of feels like a mini Chicago. Like we are just north of Chicago. It's like a 2-hour drive, and it kind of just feels like if you took Chicago and shrank it down a bunch. And I have some friends who live in Chicago, so it's actually been on my to-do list to just take like a trip down to Chicago and just walk all around the city and just photograph the heck out of it. So that's definitely something I've been wanting to do.
It's a cool spot. I've been able to go a couple of times. It's a bit of a longer drive for me. I think it was like 11 hours from
Oh,
Toronto to Chicago. And the last time I did it when I drove down, I did it in one day. And that was a poor life choice because my body reminded me, it's like, dude, you are not young enough for this kind of shit anymore, man. So I took 2 days to drive home. Yeah, that was a little bit rough. Thank you for joining, Chris. It was cool seeing you on here. They're just bowing out there. And Alan says that he's got a few friends in Chicago, and one of them's a camera nerd too.
nice. I also just want to say goodnight to Chris. I'm so happy she joined us.
She's great. Yeah, so it's just I did want to ask you too, like, or well, just say that like it's really cool what you've started with the Women's Film Wednesday thing because um, it is an unfortunate thing that Instagram for the most part is fairly male dominated, especially with the like reposting pages that are out there. It's that's something that like I'm part of the Northern Film Collective, which is a Canadian type of like film focus because
Mm-hmm.
we saw that like most of the reposting sites were all like heavily American and there wasn't really anything for Canada out there. So we started that, and Northern Film Collective was like founded by Becca Schutz Film. So she always wanted to make sure that there was also female focus on that too. So that was always something that we've been cognizant of in our own group.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool that well, not cool, but necessary that you've started this thing to try and shift people's minds because there's lots of great female photographers out there that are being missed. So,
So
um, just give you the stage to talk a bit about that.
yeah, I mean, that the women with Film Wednesday that came about. Oh goodness, I've been probably doing that for almost 2 months now because I think I came up with that back in December, and it was born out of exactly what you're talking about, my frustration with the fact that the photographers that tend to get promoted either on the feature pages or just in online discussions like heavily tend to be male, and white cis male at that. And there's just so much lack of representation of women and just diversity in this community at times. And so I went on a little rant in my stories back in December, kind of just airing out my grievances about, like, as a woman in this community, just like how disheartening that gets to constantly just never see women, or very, very rarely see women being recognized in the community. It makes you feel like you're a little bit of an invisible entity. And I started shouting out a bunch of women, and I was so surprised at how many people responded positively to it. And so my real hope with the Women with Film Wednesday is to keep this a part of the regular conversation, that this is something that needs to change. And I think I've been so touched at how many people are participating in it every week. That was like exactly my hope, was that other people would join in and they would be doing their own Women with Film Wednesday stories and posts. And I'm so excited that people are. I would just say, like, let's not get complacent. Like, we're doing this because we're trying to get other people to realize that they need to be recognizing women more, and that people who are in positions of power, and what I mean by that, positions of power, really the people who are decision makers. So the people who are running the feature accounts and choosing who gets featured, people who are running, you know, like the business accounts for the big film businesses, you know, they're the ones who are making the decisions on who are getting featured. And, you know, the point of Women with Film Wednesday is to keep us talking about this. So hopefully other people will catch on and they will start realizing that they need to do more to help female representation in this community.
That's fantastic. Agree. Not only me, but like everyone in the chat here is like, 1,000% like hearts, absolutely preach. And it needs to happen. Like, I mean, there's too many dudes with camera running amok right now. And I've even noticed that on Clubhouse when you like pop in a lot of photography rooms, it's just like dudes giving advice that may or may not be super solid, or at all relevant to female photographers. So it's good that like a movement like this is being created to bring prominence to this, because like, we need a massive shift.
Yeah.
And so how did Film Sorority come about?
So that really, that was kind of like the brainchild of Crispy Photo. She reached out to me. So it was right after kind of all the craziness of my stories exploding and me first starting Women with Film Wednesday. Chris reached out to me and she said that she had been wanting to launch a feature page that was focused solely on representing photographers who identify as female. And she asked if I wanted to be a part of it. And at first I was a little scared just because that sounds like such a big undertaking, and just there was already a lot on my plate. And so I told her I'd need to think about it a bit. But then the more I thought about it and the more I started like brainstorming potential names and ideas for the page, the more just like my fear just melted away and I just got really excited. So we joined forces. We came up with the name, the Film Sorority, and then we brought Anomi in as well because we really wanted a third person in there helping us run the page, and we just love their work. Anomi, if people don't know by Anomi, you got to go check them out. They've got beautiful work, and so we thought they would be a nice addition to helping curate and pick out really great content.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I was kind of curious with the Film Sorority, if you guys, if y'all maybe have an idea to do this at some point, one of the things that Becca had an idea of with the Northern Film Collective was doing like a yearly annual kind of thing. And so we just did the pre-order for that, and we're waiting for the first shipment in. But she's calling it like Volume 1 of the Northern Film Collective, and we showcased, it was like 60 some photographers from all over Canada have at least one, sometimes more pictures inside of this book that we're hoping to make like a yearly edition kind of thing. Have you guys thought about doing any projects like that to like showcase women, especially with like the theme of like the Film Sorority? You could do like a yearbook style thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great idea. Well, we've talked very broadly of ways that we can projects we can do that's outside of just, you know, the feature page. We haven't necessarily talked specifically of like a yearly project. I think in one or two conversations, we kind of floated the idea of maybe some sort of a zine or something at some point based on how successful we are, you know, maybe getting merch at some point, maybe doing some sort of like, not to like steal your idea, Merlin, but maybe doing some sort of like a live, you know, video series we could do at some point.
No, by all means, don't. Like it's not my idea. Steal it. Like run with it. The more you can connect, and like if I can help share any of my experience that I've had with whatever it is I'm doing right now, because I still have no idea what I'm doing, I'm more than happy to share, because you know, this has been evolving on its own too. Like it started as just Instagram, and then I started uploading the videos onto YouTube, and now I've been uploading the audio onto podcasts so that more people can have access to it. Because like I'd like this to be accessible to people more than just being able to jump on the live kind of thing. So yeah, if that's an idea that y'all want to chase, I'm happy to help as much as I can with that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, so we've talked about just a lot of different like broad ideas. I don't think we've really narrowed down on what we would really want to do next. I think right now we're just trying to focus on keeping the page growing and just being consistent with our features and going from there.
Awesome. Embracing Hypocrisy says, God, yes, female-led feature pages can be challenging, but create a great space for elevating less-known women photographers. And Alan mentions incredible women behind the lens he's met through Leica have been Eva Woolridge, EJ Camp, Stella Johnson, Laritza I'm going to butcher that, Menjavar, Maggie Steber, Lynn Johnson, and Deborah Anderson. Sorry for butchering the one name there. Oh man.
I think you did a good job.
Thank you. That's awesome. more female photographers to check out.
Exactly. Yeah, and I will say kind of an idea that was shared with me today that I kind of really like. And now I'm so sorry. I talk with so many people and I tend to get people mixed up. I think it was Tracking Shadows who shared this idea with me. I feel pretty certain. If it's not, I'm so sorry. They had this idea of maybe creating some sort of like a public pledge that we should try to get feature pages to agree to, saying that I pledge to feature like X percentage of women on this account, because it's kind of appalling when you go through the numbers. I've gone through a number of big pages and done some quick math, and it's so often like 75% are men or even more. There was like one page I did math on, and it was like 97% of their posts were guys. And I do worry that like just talking about it on like social media is only going to do so much, and like actually trying to hold like feet to the fire a little bit and actually pressuring maybe some of these accounts to actually like sign a pledge and like put your name on this and say that you're going to, you know, help with this, help fight this issue of lack of female representation. So that's maybe something we might, I mean, not the Film Sorority, something I might do at some point. So if people have ideas about that or want to help out, reach out, because I think that might be fun.
I'd be happy to help with that, and you know, I hope in your adventure and journey with that you don't run into too many incel bros.
I hope so. Yeah.
You know, I've noticed that there is been a little bit of that with some of the dude with cameras I've met, where I'm just like, you seem like you might also be an incel, not only a photographer person, and you make me very uncomfortable, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say mainly the response to the stuff I've been doing has been pretty positive, but it has not escaped me that there have been like negative comments left on my casual photo file articles, basically yeah, that are almost very incel like, bashing like, why do we need to represent women anyway, like men are just better photographers, just crap stuff. So yeah, I would hope that we wouldn't have to deal with the insult bros, but we know they're out there.
Well, and like that's a funny one too, because I heard that on a Clubhouse chat one night where it's like, some dude just like, men are just inherently better. And I'm like, inherently better at what? Taking boring photos of nude women? Like, come on. When you see a lot of these like dudes like, oh, check out my photo, it's like total fire, and it's just like, cool, that's like millions of other photos of like a naked woman that some dude with a camera did. Like, one of the things that I've really appreciated seeing a lot of, yeah, Brandy says those dudes can suck it.
Hell yeah,
And
Brandy.
my best friend Kat says representation matters. Getting a pledge going is a great way for accountability. Totally agree. Oh, and Jamie says, I got "this is sexist against men and a disservice to this young lady" comment. What?
Yeah, I've heard that too, that by saying we need to focus on representing women, that we are like discriminating against men. I've heard that one too.
Just take better pictures. Like, that's kind of it there. Like, one of the things I've noticed when I'm looking at a lot of the work from female photographers is that I get a lot more feeling from them. Like, they're more interesting. There's more of a draw to some of those photos because there's something there. It's not just like objectification or, just some boring technical photo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of the stuff I've been really digging has been mostly like female photography lately on the Instagrams, and a ton of them are on the grams with us right now. Some of my favorite ones, like Brandy, yourself. There's Amanda's on here. I can't found on film. Her photos are absolutely beautiful, and she's just started shooting recently. The girl who shoots film, she's
I
here in
love Miriam.
yeah, she's fantastic, and there's a link between us. I sold her an SX70 sonar that she's now sold to another photographer. So,
Oh, that's cute.
we're part of this like story of a camera that's moving on. And Jana, Jana's amazing. I love Jana. There's so many great female photographers out there, and I'm very proud to call a bunch of them like friends.
I completely agree. And I have a cute little story about the girl who shoots film. We affectionately call each other names sisters because our names are so similar to the point where sometimes I'll get accidentally tagged in a story that was like meant to tag her. And when I first discovered her page, oh my gosh, this was so long ago. I probably at least a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think is when I discovered her page. I was just scrolling through Instagram. I think I was like going through hashtags and I saw the girl who shoots film, and our names are so similar that when I saw it, I was like, wait, do I have two Instagrams? Like, I got confused. I was like, is this? And I had to like reread the name a couple times to be like, no, this isn't me. Because I kept looking, I'm like, this is not my photo.
That's hilarious.
So that's my cute little photo with the girl who shoots film. But I completely agree with what you were saying. And the thing that I've really been struck by with female photographers is that the subject matter is so broad. There's so many times where, if I go on these feature accounts that are largely male, it almost feels like the same photo over and over again, or like very similar styles. And I know my own style of shooting can kind of be boring sometimes too. But since we started running the Film Sorority, I've just been blown away at just the range of photos that we get tagged in. Like, just like super experimental stuff, super high-end portraits, and
Sorry, I'm not laughing at that, but Brandy's just saying gas stations,
gas
cars,
stations.
but only on Cinestill. Naked ladies. Yes, that's yeah, that's
Very true.
that, that's the what is it? That's the trifecta of male photography right there.
There you go. Gas stations, naked ladies, cars.
And like cars and tits.
That's it. perfect.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, it's okay. But yeah, I've been kind of blown away at just the range and the variety of subject matters that these ridiculously talented women have been tagging the film sorority in, and it's just like it 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 makes it hard to even just choose a photo, you know. And I love that we can keep the page looking so unique, you know, that I love that you can look at our feature page and it's not just like the same photo over and over again. And I mean that in the best way possible when I say that it makes it hard to choose a photo. It's just like there's so many great options and there's so many different options that I can choose that I like get decision fatigue. I'm like, well, I could do this one, but no, I should feature that. Oh, but that's really cool and that's really experimental. And I love that there's so many women out there that have just such a wide variety.
That's awesome. And they're not watching all the same YouTube videos of dude perfect photography that they go out and like recreate because they want to be like insert YouTuber name here.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm going to single anyone out. Um,
I'm just doing it mentally.
yeah, exactly. You know, insert whatever. Embracing hypocrisy says the pushback is real. The chingonas con cameras got some of that bro feedback when it first started. It's really boggling why this is. Is it that they feel threatened? And they would get DMs about guys asking if they would wear a wig, would it be okay to attend? No.
No, it's absolutely that they feel threatened. Yeah, I think that's what it is. They feel like they know they're in a position of power, and the idea of women being equal to them or having their own safe space is so threatening that they have to lash out. Yeah.
Yeah, like these dudes are ridiculous. The film fellow mentioned someone here, but I really feel like I'm going to butcher their name, and I am. Do you want to take a crack at that one?
Oh, let's try here. Okay, so Jeannie. Oh.
Yeah, right.
Mutosami.
Mutasami. Yeah,
Mutosami.
Mutasami. That sounds right. Okay.
Ash.
He says
Hyphen Ash.
she
Yeah.
is also an incredible photographer, and almost no one knows of her.
Definitely gonna have to look her up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Brandy says, I've been loving everything you ladies have found thus far.
Thanks, Brandy. I've been loving everything that we've done so far too. I love that we keep it fresh. I love that there's always, like I said, there's just like a brand new, interesting photo, um, completely different styles and subject matters for us to share.
And then Devonopoulos says the amount of intimate, nuanced portraits and subject matter coming from female photographers that they don't see by and large from the male photography community is such a blessing.
I agree, and also kind of, in addition to that, I just want to say that I think it was French Girl Film posted in her stories today. A really astute observation is that when men take photos of like half naked women or all naked, you know, the typical male gaze photo of a woman, they get praised. Bro, 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 it's fire. But if a woman takes a similar type of intimate portrait of another woman or even of herself, like so often they get criticism that they're just trying to get attention or that they're you know, that they get negative feedback for doing that. And I just think that's such crap, you know, that there are so many beautiful portraits like that being taken by women and they should get the same level of recognition. And I also think that we should normalize photographing men like that because we see so many photos of women, you know, with that like sex pot glare into the camera and half naked. Like, why don't we take similarly intimate portraits of men? You know, why I think we should normalize doing that. If that's a style, we should normalize doing that with a range of bodies and genders.
Well, and just having like intimacy in photos to begin with too, like that whole like dude with camera naked photos thing is like one of the main reasons I like avoided shooting with people for such a long time. And then a friend who's a model convinced me to try shooting with her one time. She's like, just see what it's like. And we actually had a whole ton of fun. But the thing with it was like it wasn't me directing her at all. Like she had this idea of a creative in her mind, and it was like she just invited me to be part of it to capture it for her because she couldn't take the photos because she was like, doing the work that she wanted to create.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really nervous to share it, and there was like that all like explosion of comments on it. It's like, oh my god, boobs, mostly from men, but there was a bunch of female photographers that I'm friends with that were like, this is really cool because they can see that like it's the subject that actually has the power here, and it's not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're still in control, and it's still their narrative. And I've only shot with a few people um, that I can have that kind of like dynamic with, where it's just like they're the ones that are in control. I don't want to be directing them. I just want to help them sort of create in mind. And it's been fun to like be part of building something like that instead of like creating these like unintimate photos that are just like, well, I like boobs, so I'm going to take pictures of them. That's why I bought this Sony ep7 because it's going to be the best way to buy boobs. Or a Leica is definitely going to get me laid. So no,
Yeah,
Alan, I'm sorry, but yeah,
that's definitely what they think.
yeah, a little bit. It's like, well, I spent like 20 grand on this camera and lens, so obviously I'm going to bet a woman now with it. It's
Yeah.
like, no, dude, you are going to probably get like outed by someone shooting like a simple lomography point and shoot because they had more fun with that person.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the intimacy from a lot of the female photographers, and yeah, Brandy says saw your genuineness and vulnerability through those images. Thank you, Brandy. That's very sweet. And then the girl who shoots film says, "Oh man, the naked ladies commentary are on point. It is triggering in a way to see their posts, in a way, especially for victims of sexual assault." And I agree with that. That
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's not good at all. And Alan also says that he sees that his guy Tim Ryugo from Kodak also follows the Film Sorority. You
Oh,
guys,
awesome.
you have a very popular follower. I,
We've actually had a couple of really big name people follow us. Matt Day follows us. That
Mhm.
was I I was like speechless when I saw that. I was like, what? Matt Day's following us. This is awesome. Yeah, so we're very lucky with the people who support us.
I'm going to be completely honest because like I've met Matt Day in person. You're way more awesome.
Well, no comment. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, there's no getting in trouble. Like it's you didn't say anything. That was all me.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Matt, if you want to fight me about it, I'm in Toronto, Kingston, and Warden. Come find
Shots taken.
me. Just kidding. I'm not a fighter at all. And don't cross the border because you'll have to spend like 3 days in a hotel at like a lot of money. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah, then
also noticed that Ryan said hi here, so I just want to say hi, Ryan. Thanks for joining.
yeah, and then they also say no luck involved here, just good work. Give credit where credit is due. Yeah,
Great point.
that is a very good point.
Thank you.
And it's amazing because like I think a little push like this is going to really like open the door a lot because and Kat and I talk about this all the time is there's just this conditioning of women and like the patriarchal societal construct we live in right now where it's just like almost like a pre-programming to take a back seat and not speak up and like just sort of let themselves get steamrolled by these male photographers because they're obviously more talented or better or whatever. And that's
Mhm.
total bullshit because like most of these dudes are not talented whatsoever. um Kind of predators, some of them. There's a lot of
Oh, there's a
problematic.
lot of predators. Totally. I'm not trying to say they're all are, but I think there's more than we think there are.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and more of them are getting outed all the time. So it's I think it's important for movements like this to happen to actually give a voice and help people that don't feel like maybe they should do that. They have this idea in their mind where it's like, well, I am better. Like,
Mhm.
why can't I push my stuff out there? Maybe this is that push to help them, you know, get out there and like you'll be like, yeah, fuck it. I saw, you know, the girl with the who shoots film and she's amazing and like, I want to start sharing my stuff right now, or time like make some zines, get your work out there, sell prints, try and get dudes to do intimate shoots and flip the script on those guys and
Mhm.
you know dude nipples are totally allowed on Instagram, so why not throw nudies of dudes on Instagram? you know Flip the algorithm around, get so many photos of like dude nipples on there that they start censoring dude photos.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be kind of hilarious. um where is it here? Ariella says Yushi Lee did very interesting work to tackle this consistent pattern. She describes herself simply as a Chinese woman who takes pictures of naked Western men. Amazing work and an important perspective. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll have
And
to.
Alan apparently let himself be a subject. He said his friend Picant.photo shot some photos of him in a more intimate session, and it was empowering for him. She's excellent and highly suggest checking out her profile. Way to go, Alan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Ariela says not only does it take the power away from the male gaze, but it also legitimizes the female sexual desire. So much to unpack here. Totally agree.
Yeah,
Like,
really great points.
yeah, because I mean, quite honestly, most of the women I know are far dirtier minded than any dudes that I know.
Well, yeah, and I think to Ariel's point, I think it like comes back to these really ridiculous societal standards where it's okay for men to be sexual and it's okay for them to look at women in a sexual way, but women, we're supposed to be like the clean, prude virgin. We're not supposed to be dirty or sexual in any way, and those double standards are just absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, shooting men in that way would absolutely help flip the switch and start breaking down those double standards.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Maybe that could be a film sorority zine that you guys like, sponsor.
Yeah, that might be.
And Ryan's asking about a film sorority photo book.
Yeah, I think kind of what we were talking about earlier. We've talked on a broad level of projects we'd like to do at some point in the future. If we stay successful, some sort of a printed work was definitely um, one of those ideas, whether it's like a zine or maybe even a photo book. I don't know. We haven't really fleshed that out at all. But I would definitely not close the door on that. I could say it's a definite possibility. Oh yeah, I love what Brandy's saying here. It's a weird dichotomy of show me your boobs, but don't you dare ask me about my penis. It's very, very accurate. Yep.
Yeah, and then Alan says that we were all taught that a virgin gave birth to Christ. That like religious and all like religion and all that, that's another whole problematic area. And I kind of feel that like, Jesus was probably the first pimp because dude could turn water into wine and he hung out with like hookers all the time. Like,
He had a good life. He knew how to live.
all these religious zealots got it all wrong. Like, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Um, it would be cool to see more like empowerment of that though, just like taking that back and like creating these powerful images that force humility on all of these like dudes out there and
Mm-hmm.
start making them think differently. Picant Photo says, as a lady photog and a feminist, she feels as though shooting men in boudoir setting is doing my part, dismantling toxic masculinity and the patriarchy. That's beautiful. I
I
love that.
absolutely agree. Mm-hmm.
And Alan says there she is. That's
Mm-hmm.
the photographer that took his boudoir.
Oh, awesome. That's really cool. I completely agree.
And Celestron's like, quote unquote, Jesus, we're actually thirsty. Please stop doing this. That's kind of fucking hilarious. I like that.
I was gonna make a Texas joke there and about how they don't have water. I'm not gonna go that far.
Well, I mean,
I was just gonna joke about like what if Jesus came down to Texas and did that, but I'm not.
I think if Jesus came down to Texas, he'd be like, well, shit, you guys fucked up. You know, that's a lot of people that I love and adore live in Texas, and I'm worried about them. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is a prime example of how, like, you know, bald eagle freedom really bites you in the ass at some point.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, the sad part is, that's the people who live there don't deserve that. Like it's not the fault of the actual population who are being infected by the situation in Texas. It's absolutely the gross leadership and politicians who cared more about lining their pockets than actually doing what was right for the population, unfortunately. So I know I've have a lot of friends down there too. It's just an awful situation, and I just hope everybody's staying safe.
Well, and the thing that's sad about it is a lot of the people aren't going to see it for what it is. They're going to blame this on like socialist bullshit or like some other like boogeyman when it's the voted officials that they've selected who've completely sold them out, yet they still believe and hang on every single bloody word that they say while they're literally almost dying in some instances. Like, it's kind of crazy that, like, you know, a little bit of snow transformed Texas into a third world country level state.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I have to say, I really like. Is this Alan A. Barrington Evans?
yeah.
I like his comment. I read that a Texan had to travel 1,700 miles to find warmth and water. His name is Ted Cruz.
Fuck that guy.
I think that's absolutely hilarious. Yeah.
And we've got someone in camera shops. They say it's 5 a.m. in Iran. Hi, guys. Hey, what's up
Hey,
in Iran?
God, I hate 5 a.m. Good for you guys for being up that early.
Yeah. Well, and Brandy says socialism is what they're asking for when they're in this situation. Well, and that's the thing that's kind of ridiculous is that, like, I don't know why the Republicans and conservatives have created this boogeyman of socialism. And maybe it's because, like, we can't go after communism anymore because, like, you know, the Red Scare isn't that big of a thing right now. But, like, ooh, free healthcare for everyone. Scary. It's going to, like, rape your children and, like, you know, impregnate your dog. Like, watch out for the socialists. It's just fucking ridiculous.
It is. I mean, like any other country that has socialist healthcare is like way better off than we are right now. Like,
Well, we're not super better here in Canada. So it's like, yes, we do have socialist healthcare, but we also do have a lot of people in power who follow similar fundamentals to the greatest politicians that you guys have. So our country is starting to fall apart at its own seams right now. So we do have some things that are good, but slowly those are deteriorating as we have Trumpian-like people get into office, which is I hate this, but think of all the pregnant dogs.
for everybody.
Yeah, and then Brandy's socialism is bad, and we want to be independent, but help us when we demand it. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. And all the gerrymandering, that's a great point, embracing hypocrisies. Ryan says there are some amazing photographers in the Middle East, by the way, unreal concentration of talent. Interesting.
I didn't know that.
And JP, if you don't follow JP.WTF, you definitely should. Amazing cat. And he's being Ted Cruz, the insurrectionist.
Such a great comment.
I mean, that's like a whole other kind of thing where, like, I'm not surprised, but I'm really disappointed that they let that monkey man get away with all of that bullshit. Like, you know, that was just like a straight up, like, you know, fuck you to the American dream there.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because the Republicans are like, we're fighting for freedom. We're fighting for. No, you want to destroy everything. And for what? So that you can live on like a pile of shit once you finally get it all? Like,
Yeah.
It should have been Bernie.
Well, at least we got Trump out of office. Bernie, yes, Bernie would have been great. Biden was not my first choice, but I'm just so glad we got Trump out of office. I am.
The problem is though, by not actually impeaching him, he's out of office, but he's not out of power. And they've, if anything, probably emboldened his power because now he's like untouchable. Been impeached twice, can't be touched. He's allowed to make another run for public office, and there's enough people in the states that'll probably vote him in.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't be president if you're in prison. And as much as, yeah, he was impeached twice and he was acquitted both times, our justice system, like especially like on the state level, is a lot more honest than our fucking Senate. And
Yeah.
there are multiple states right now that have criminal investigations into him. Georgia has a criminal investigation into him. The Southern District of New York prosecutor has been working on they're keeping things very like under wraps, but they are looking into, it sounds like, some pretty deep financial crimes with him. And the thing about state crimes is you can't be pardoned for them. A president can't pardon you. So if he does get convicted of one of these state crimes and he's going away, he ain't president again. So and I'm not saying that I think that's for certain going to happen, but I trust those processes more than I trust our broken Senate to do the right thing with an impeachment.
I agree. And I'm also sad that I know more about American politics than I do Canadian politics. But yeah, I really hope something happens because it's a damn shame. Like, I know a lot of fine Americans, like some of my best people are from the States, and I think about and worry about them all the time with just all of the craziness that's been going on there, through COVID, through all the political stuff. And I just wish everyone could stop being dicks to each other because, there's no need for all the stuff that's been going on. Like, it's absolutely insane.
I mean, it's that simple, Merlin. Just don't be a dick. Why can't people get that? Just like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem though, is that like there's all these like simple solutions to big problems, but it's like, oh my God, how are we going to fix this? We like, you know, how how do we like end homelessness? How do we end like all these things? And it's like, well, universal income, you know, instead of paying for like these like helpful organizations and stuff that are just more administration consuming money that could be going to help people. It's just the idea of helping people by giving them something that maybe like makes things a little bit easier for their suffering and stuff. But you know, I think it was the Netherlands or Denmark eliminated homelessness by just giving everyone an apartment. They were just like, here. They looked at how much it was costing for social programs and took that money and just like gave everyone an apartment.
mm-hmm.
2/3 of the people within a few months of being in the apartments were able to pay for their own places because all they needed was some stability to
Yeah.
find a job and find these things. So it's like now they're saving even more money because they're only paying for 1/3 of the apartments now that they started out with. So it's like, oh my God, how do you end homelessness? Give people homes. There you go. How do we stop being mean to each other? Stop being like, just don't be a dick.
It's easy. Look at me, not being a dick. I'm like, why can't you do it?
I mean, sometimes you got to be a dick to push the message across if you're like butting up against rude people. But I wish it didn't have to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like the same thing too. Like there really shouldn't be a need for having to promote just women only kind of thing. Like, we should just be supporting and promoting each other and not just focusing on one group because of a bias or because like
Yeah.
we want to be liked by these people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as amazing as it is that y'all have started this great initiative, it's also kind of sad that we have to have this in our society, especially as like modern and advanced as we've become. Like, hey kitty. It's also the requirement of getting a mortgage are a bit over the top in Canada. They'll deny you $950 a month mortgage even though you're lying or you're paying 1,300 a rent for 3 years. Yeah, like, mortgage stuff just doesn't make sense. Financial stuff is ridiculous. The Kitty was a major hit in the town.
Yeah. She was walking past, and I figured she could have a little cameo.
That's amazing.
But like, kind of, I know you said in there like we shouldn't have to make women-only spaces like in the photography world, and I
In a
completely,
perfect world.
yeah, in a perfect
Yeah.
world, and I completely agree. And I'm so glad that we have the Film Sorority. I love running it, but like something that does bother me a little bit is the fact that we need to do that. Like I shouldn't have to make our own spaces for us. Like we should just be included naturally. I'm glad to be doing it. I'm happy and I'm very passionate about it, but like it is somewhat infuriating that that we have to even do that, and it's also kind of not lost on me either that not a lot of guys follow the Film Sorority. I mean, we have a lot more women followers than we have men, and that's also frustrating too, because it kind of feels like the guys don't take us as seriously, or because we feature women, they don't want to follow us or give a crap about what we're doing. And maybe I'm completely wrong there, but like I don't know, it's just something that also is a little bit frustrating, that that we should be able to make female spaces, but that other people would want to observe and enjoy them.
Well, yeah, like if a guy's not comfortable to follow like a page like the Film Story that has tons of great content on it, they really should be asking themselves a question. It's like, what's wrong with me? Like, why don't I feel comfortable about this?
Yeah.
Because maybe they're not as good of a guy as they think they are, or as much of an ally, like things like that. Like it kind of blends into like a bit of like the racism discussion as well too. Like there's lots of people out there that are getting their gold star and their check mark because it's like, look at me, I'm being an ally. It's like, but are you? Like really? Like and it's weird for me because like I just assume a lot of people will think like I do, and it shouldn't be a problem because like I appreciate work from all people. But if I see garbage work, I will also be like, this is garbage. Like I don't enjoy this. It doesn't matter who made it. Like male, female, non-binary. Like if I love it, I'm gonna be like, yes, this is awesome, and I'll be happy to like boost it by sharing it in my stories or something like that, or promoting it on the Northern Film Collective if they're a Canadian photographer and it's something shot in Canada. Yeah, it's just someone made a comment here that we should be past this discussion, and we should. It's just sad that like sexism is still so prevalent and that racism is still so prevalent, and not only just in the film community. Like I work in technology, and I've got some friends that work for a very prominent technology company, male and female, both doing the same job, and there's like between a $20,000 and $40,000 pay difference between the men and the women doing the exact same job function. Like they do the same role, and there's that much of a disparity in wage between men and women, and it's just like that's just a glaring example. Like we're still so far away from making things right.
Yep. Actually, I've had that exact experience, not at my current job, which my current job I really like. My past job where I was working for, when I was still in the music world, I was working for a music company, and I had a male counterpart. We literally had the exact same job title. There were just two of us with that job title. We had the exact same job title. We did literally the exact same work. We were almost the same age. I think he was maybe a year older than me. We had the exact same degrees, basically the same amount of work experience, and he got paid $15,000 more than me.
That's just brutal.
Yeah. That's not even in IT. That was just like in a music job, and it's Yeah, it's just it's so upsetting that,
Well,
that
it's in every vertical too. Like I have friends that are in academia and education, and like the unfairness and the sexism in those realms is just mind-boggling. Where it's just like it doesn't even make sense to me that like we would. It's like we're literally treating women like second-class citizens in so many of these places, and it's just like what the actual fuck, like. So it's sad that we have to have these conversations, but it's great that like you and Chris have been working on building this framework to help give people a voice because it's very important to help empower people that there's so much like emotional abuse and stuff that happen to people that just like, sort of batter them down and close them off from being able to push and advocate for themselves.
Mhm.
And, having a platform where they can be amplified and meet like-minded people and connect with like-minded people is such a valuable thing to have. So that's thank you for making a beautiful thing in the world.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I love it. I'm happy that we're doing it.
Yeah. Um, I'm kind of like running a little bit out of steam. It's been a long day. I don't think I've missed anything I wanted to cover off with you. Was there any other comments or things you wanted to share with people, or any questions from the crowd we've got here?
Um, Let me scroll through our chat and see if there's.
Alan says you got a new guy right here.
Thanks, Alan. Really.
Alan's a good cat.
Well, I just want to say, I know people have been kind of coming and going, but I just want to say I really appreciate everybody that's shown up tonight. This has been a blast. I love getting to talk about this kind of stuff. I just love getting to talk about film photography in general. I don't have too many like friends in my like day-to-day life that I actually see that do film or do photography at all. So it's always, I really cherish these moments when I get to connect with somebody and get to geek out a little bit about the hobby that we love.
Yeah, it's always fun to geek out about it. Brandy asks, "How'd you get to be so cool?" And coffee or tea?
Coffee or tea? Oh, tea. Definitely tea. I've had bad experiences with coffee. So tea. And how did I don't think I'm cool. I think I'm like the geekiest weirdest person. So I appreciate that you think I'm cool, Brandy. I really like that. Black and white or color or slide. I definitely shoot a lot more color than anything. And I think that's mainly just because a lot of the scenes that I'm drawn to them because they're color. I like the color of the building, or I love the bright blue sky and whatever silhouetted against it. But I do want to get into more black and white. I have not done any slide film. I'm a little scared to do slide film. I'm going to be honest.
Slide film is a little tough because it's not very forgiving.
Yeah. And it's hella expensive. I mean, I've looked into Ektachrome and it's like, oh man, it's like somewhere in the realm of $10 to $15 a roll. And that's just, I
And
don't know.
then you got to pay more for the E6
Yeah.
processing. Like you're probably going to want to get them mounted as well too. And yeah, slide is it's I don't know. I'm not a super huge fan of it. Brandy asks, or Polaroid. Have you messed with Polaroid yet?
So I have. I actually, that's part of my collection of 40. I think I have at least 3 or 4 Polaroid cameras that, again, some of them were ones I tripped across at the thrift store. A couple were given to me like by family members who didn't use them anymore. And I have to be honest, I don't really like Polaroid originals. I've bought in a number of packs of film and I've shot them and they're just really washed out. There's not a lot of color to them. They're not super sharp. And I know some people like them for those reasons, for those qualities. I don't, unfortunately. But I really like Instax. I have an Instax Mini and I have an Instax Square. And I really like the photos I get on those.
The newer, excuse me, losing my voice. The newer formulas are a lot better of the Polaroid film. So maybe try one of the new packs. They are a lot more improved. But I've found that I've liked the color in the black and white more from the SX70 film. If you have an SX70 camera, you can get some really nice shots with the SX70 film. Um, Maybe it's just because it's lower ISO versus the 600, but I've just always ended up being a lot happier with what I've gotten off of SX70.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Ariella asks, out of curiosity, do you develop at home? I guess you missed that part. And how many cameras do you really own? She needs to know.
So for both questions, we did discuss a little earlier. I don't develop at home. I tried about a year ago, and I hated the developing process. So I'm very content going to my local lab and helping them stay in business. So I do develop only, and I scan on my own because I really do actually love scanning. But how many cameras I really have? I really have somewhere over 40, like legitimately over 40. The last time I counted was in like November, and I was like at 41 or 42, and I've gotten a couple of cameras. Well, I got the Ricoh Diacord since then, and I got the Instax Square. So yeah, 45 maybe, somewhere in that realm. How many is too many? Too many is when I can't even remember which cameras I have. That's why I like hardly ever count them, because what will happen is I'll start like making a list, and I'll be like, this is it. This is all the cameras. And then I'll walk into another room. I'm like, crap, there's like 10 on that shelf over there I forgot I had. So I would say that is what too many is. I don't have a Leica. I see that Alan asked that. I don't know if I'll ever buy a Leica. I don't know if I'm so totally sold on the Leica hype. To me, it seems maybe a little bit more of a status symbol. The way I feel about it is I'm very happy with all my cameras. I get the images that I want out of my cameras, so I don't really feel the need to spend like $5,000 on a Leica.
So I'm like a little 50-50 on that one. So it is totally a status thing, but playing with an M4 and an M6, I can understand like a little bit of the hype. It's there's just a different kind of like feeling with those cameras, which is kind of cool. Like I've appreciated playing with them, um, but I don't think I could ever justify the cost of some of them. Like, I met Alan at the Leica store in Boston when he was hosting a workshop with Jason Lee, and part of the workshop was we did a photo walk where a Leica test drive was also part of it. They gave us Leica cameras to use, and I took out the Leica M9 digital because I had a film camera. So I was like, I'm not going to mess around with a Leica film camera when I already have my own film. And when the guy handed me the camera, he's just like, "Yeah, this camera and lens is about like 18 grand altogether, so just be careful." And I was like, "Nope, you can just have it back." And he's like, "No, just take it. It's fine." And I love the lens. Like the lens was beautiful too. But it's just the price.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just couldn't. Like, I'm not that rich.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alan says he feels it. He's mixed about it too, and he's about just shooting what you love, and he happens to love his Leica M too.
Hey, and that's totally cool if that's what you love. I think the biggest thing that I believe in the film world is like you do you.
Yeah,
You do what makes you happy. I know we harp on some of the stereotypes, taking photos of gas stations. I mean, that's ultimately all in good fun. If you really love taking photos of gas stations, if you really love shooting your Leica, fucking do it. Like, do what makes you happy. And if somebody ever were to like lend me a Leica or like say, hey, do you want to borrow my Leica and try shooting it? Like, yeah, I'm sure I probably wouldn't say no. I'd take them up on the opportunity. I'm not like that against Leica. I guess I just don't feel the need at this point to like spend all that money when I feel perfectly content with the cameras I have. And I feel like I'm able to get the images I want with the cameras I have.
that's totally fair. And the Film Sorority say, "Hey guys," Crispy Photo says, "Life is too short."
Agreed. You just gotta have fun.
Yeah, and I mean, it also lends to the point where it's like spending thousands on gear doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take a better picture.
Yep.
Because like, if you're just not good at taking pictures, it doesn't matter if you buy like a point and shoot from a thrift store, if you buy a 20 grand worth of Leica, it's probably still going to be a crappy picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's absolutely correct. For gas stations, you do absolutely need Cinetone. Only the finest gas stations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, Merlin, I don't know if Ryan is still on, but I know Ryan, we've talked several times. Ryan has a number of cameras, just like I do, some expensive, some not. And he's got, I think it's a Canon, just a point and shoot camera that he got at the thrift store. And he's been taking like some of his favorite photos on that thrift store camera. And like, he has some crazy expensive cameras too. And it goes to exactly what you're talking about, that having super expensive gear, it doesn't automatically gonna mean you're gonna just take like amazing photos. You can make gorgeous photos on a $6 point and shoot or on a Holga or a box camera. It's really up to the shooter.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've said it on several other calls before. This like Lomo reusable point and shoot camera is one of my favorite cameras, and it's super cheap. It's a plastic lens. It's really limited what you could do with it, but some of my favorite photos I've taken have been with this camera. And I like Kat's comment here. Do what makes you happy, but maybe take some self-reflection time. If what you like is carbs, boobs, and gas stations, bro, you're boring. Inhalation is a necessity, definitely.
Especially when you're taking photos of gas stations.
Well, and here's someone that's very self-reflective. Young Ansel says, I take tons of garbage photos on expensive cameras. Self-awareness. It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I appreciate you spending some time with me. It was super great to chat with you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what y'all create with the Film Sorority. And the offer is genuine. If y'all want some help with like this kind of stuff, feel free to reach out. You got my infos.
Definitely.
I appreciate hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Merlin. I can never get enough of talking about film photography with people. So, and you're so easy to talk to. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I get that from a lot of people, and it's been a lot of fun. Oh, Alan says that he's going to DM you. James has been looking for a Leica to write about, and he's been to the store a few times. Might be able to do something with one of our film cameras.
Oh,
there you go.
Awesome.
Maybe you will get to play with a Leica. Alan is a very resourceful and helpful dude, so he's a great guy to have. And thank you, JP. I appreciate that comment there. Next week I've got Take joining me, also known as Big Head Taco. Some people have come across him on the internet there. I met him at the Darkroom Lab Film Padea in 2019. He's going to be joining me for next week's episode, so that should be a lot of fun. And, this was so much fun to have you on here, Danielle. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Merlin. This was an absolute blast.
Yeah, stay safe out there. Wash your hands, mask over the nose, all that kind of stuff,
Take good care, guys.
Yeah, and good luck with shooting this weekend. I'm excited to see what you got.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. I haven't been shooting in probably a month because it's just been too cold. So fingers crossed that that pulls through for me.
Sounds good. I'll check in with you later.
Okay, sounds great. Have a great night.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.